Cool. So let's go into the next question. Let's see. Oh, this is a good one. So Andre Dota says, overworked. I'm overworked. Can't find reliable people to delegate work to and responsibilities to.
Beauty. Something we deal with every single day, right?
So,
What do you say, Julian?
So, I mean, a lot of people say that they're overworked. And like, first of all, like,
is that really true?
I feel like most people don't even know what work is.
No, they don't.
A lot of people don't even know what work is. I would say, like, if you haven't like given 12 hours a day, like
12, 14.
Yeah, I mean, like, just basically all day, from the second you wake up to the second you go to sleep, and you haven't given at least that much time for a year straight. You haven't really worked that hard. I mean, like, and you can continue. Like, I'm not saying that's healthy. I'm not saying you should continue to do that. Like, but if you do that, it will take you very far. Like, look at Elon Musk, right? Like, I would not want to be in Elon Musk's shoes. Like, that dude works like a fucking animal. He doesn't have a life.
Sleepless nights.
I mean, like, for some people, family is really important. Elon has like 8 kids. He doesn't really see his kids. They see him like maybe once a week, and he's so busy. But look at what this dude has accomplished. So it depends on what you prioritize. Now, if you want to start a business, again, business is cutthroat. Business is competitive. So if you're going to start something in business, you're going to have to be willing to sacrifice whatever it takes to get to the top. And we've even talked about this in our relationship.
Relationship is second, business is first. People usually like tell me like, oh yeah, I work so hard. And they're like, oh yeah, I worked like 4 hours today. And I'm like, yeah.
It sounds really chill. It sounds really chill.
Really chill, yeah. I wish. But yeah, so let's solve this guy's problem. He has a hard time finding good people. And what was the other thing?
He's overworked, can't find reliable people to delegate to, and responsibilities, to delegate work and responsibilities to.
Okay, so
I think I can answer this question, but if you want to chime in before.
Let's start with overworked. What do you do for being overworked?
Don't be a pussy.
Exactly. Be a man.
Be a man.
Be a man. You have to provide for your children, your family.
Yeah. Honestly, you know what I will say is, for the people that I know that are like successful, like I never hear them complain about work.
Yeah, same.
Like I don't really like, I'm probably overworked, but I don't.
You definitely are.
But okay, but like I do it because it's required, and you'll never hear me complain about it.
No.
Because like the goal that I set for myself is like so important that like nothing else really matters.
Yeah.
I'm not going to complain about the work that I have to do, because at the end of the day, I'm signing myself up for it. It's worth it for me because I know what's coming with all the actions and inputs that I'm doing today and tomorrow, right? Same with you, same with INSTA. Sometimes we might say, oh, let's take a weekend off.
Yeah.
Whatever, fuck it.
One day.
But it's not like that doesn't come out of a lack of desire to do work. It's actually the opposite. We come here and we still want to work. But
that's all we're doing. I mean, we're here right now, actually working, I guess, creating content, some more fun stuff. But it's a sacrifice.
Yeah.
It's a sacrifice. And it's either like when you're starting a business, you have to sacrifice. If you're not willing to make a sacrifice, you're never going to get where you want to be going.
No, 100%. I will say, when you're starting out, it's a lot harder to continue to make those sacrifices when you haven't seen the result yet. Like, we've been putting in inputs. I mean, I started my business like 5 years ago or whatever. I'm 26 now, so yeah, it's been about 5 years ago. And like when I first started, the first 6 months is the hardest because you're putting in so many inputs. You're moving a fucking train. That's it's like moving a train that's standing still right now. You have to put so much force into it. You have zero momentum, and that's where most of the energy takes place. Once it's moving, it's a bit easier to keep it running. But in the beginning, you're putting in so much input, and you're not seeing any progress. The train isn't moving at all. So in that case, like, I can kind of like resonate with it a bit more. But at the end of the day, like, it's business. You got to just kind of sacrifice, be willing to put in the work until you see the result, believe in yourself, because that's the number one thing too, is like, if you're doing this and you don't 100% believe you're going to get there, you're not going to put in 100% of the energy required to get there, and that's not going to work either.
I guess what you're doing, Julian, is actually you go to the gym every morning, which kind of gives you, because I know when you're not going to the gym, you're literally like super stressed. So I think going to the gym is something that
definitely
anyone should do.
Gets all the stress out of my body. Best way to start the day, 100%. When I don't go to the gym, I get very irritable, and I definitely like can't focus. So I like just getting up in the morning, fucking forcing myself to do tough shit, getting my blood pumping, getting a good sweat in. And then, then you're kind of ready to tackle the day after
so
that.
Go to the gym and be a man.
Yeah. So overworked. But now the next thing is can't find reliable people to delegate work and responsibilities to. So this is actually a problem that we've kind of like...
Always. It's really, really hard to find good people that perform on, your level or a little bit lower. I mean, we can probably sing a song about how many people we had screened.
I have a lot of opinions about this, actually.
Yeah, tell me.
So, like when I look at this, overworked, can't find reliable people to work, to delegate work to and responsibilities to. So, the main problem here is, you don't have a good hiring process. We've built, and we're still in the process of building hiring processes. I'm hiring a full-time, recruiter and HR person right now who I'm basically training up to use the hiring process we've built out for the sales team and the DM team and other teams that we have. And basically, if you don't have reliable people to delegate work to and responsibilities to, number one is, you probably don't have a good hiring process. And because the hiring process is what gets you those top 1% candidates, right? If you're choosing from 5 people, the odds are that you're not going to get the quality of candidate that you want are going to be much higher than if you're choosing from a candidate of 100 or 500 people where you've got a fucking funnel built, just like marketing, like we do for our business. You've got a funnel built for sales and you've got a funnel built for your team, right? You need to build that hiring process out to actually be able to find good talent, figure out how to attract. That's another thing too, is good talent, they're usually hired. They're not they're not on fucking Upwork, right? Yeah. So you got to figure out how to sell and attract good talent into your pipeline, nurture them like you would with a regular lead, and then actually set the right expectations on the interview so that when they get hired by your company, they're they're willing to sacrifice everything, right? If you sell someone the dream and then they come work for you and they realize that they actually have to work hard, then that's not going to work out well because you're not setting the right expectations. So that's one of the biggest things that I learned is you got to basically get people to tell you that they're willing to sacrifice their life for your business during the interview, right? You got to make them really want it and basically be on their hands and knees begging you for the fucking job, right? At that point, that they really want it, right? That might sound like a little bit extreme to people, but basically what you want to do is you want to sell the idea of the work, right? So if people aren't excited about doing the work in the company that we're doing, I don't hire them, right? I don't hire them based off of commission or money or all of this other stuff. What I tell people now is look, when you come join our team, it's going to be tough. You're going to have a lot of work to do, right? Yeah. And this is a startup, right? This is a startup. We're not a big fancy corporate company. You're not going to come here to chill and make a lot of money. You're going to come here to learn. You're going to come here to work your fucking ass off. Yeah. And in return for that, you'll see massive growth, right? But you have to be willing to sacrifice in the beginning, just like we are, right? And that sets the frame in their mind. So when they get hired, they know, okay, I got to work my ass off. The expectations are up here. And if I don't meet that, I'm not going to be on the team. And I tell them that too, right? If you don't meet the standards, one of my favorite quotes is hire slow, fire fast, right? And we fire people fucking fast. If they're not performing, they're out. They're out. Yeah. And that's just inducive of a high performance culture. Is you look at the best basketball teams, Michael Jordan. You look at the Chicago Bulls, back when they were killing it. If anyone came into the team, they had actually a few episodes. If you've ever seen that documentary, The Last Dance with Michael Jordan, they had a few seasons where new players got introduced to the team, right? And whenever a new player got introduced to the team, they fucking roasted him, right? They roasted him, and a few of them, I'm not sure exactly because I don't remember the exact episodes, but I know a few had it really, really tough. And then they had a few games where they really proved themselves, and then they accepted them into the team, right? They really crushed it on a game, and then the players there were like, "Holy fuck! I made it!" They actually now accept me. So that's what a high performance culture does is someone new comes in and basically you prove yourself, and then you get accepted, and you'll see massive growth. They won 6 championships in a row, or you get spit out in a second, right? In 1-2 games, this dude's not performing, get him off the fucking team.
Because at the end of the day, it's these people drag down the whole team.
100%. So,
and that's what you don't want.
So yeah, I would say the main thing is learning. And now that brings me into the second point, right? Is you probably don't have a good hiring process built out. Yeah. And that brings me into the second point is a lot of people who are getting into business, they want to watch YouTube videos. They want to watch read all the common business books, how to win friends and influence people, but they don't want to fucking read, a book on how to do human resources and fucking hiring. Yeah. People don't want to do that. They don't go deep into the technicals of how these things should actually work. Yeah. So that's why you're having a tough time, right? It's not fun. I'm reading recruiting books that aren't necessarily fun to read. They're boring as hell. They're very technical. but it's helpful when you're trying to learn how to build out these different processes in the business, right? And that's the level of depth and complexity that most people don't go into, and that's why they face these problems.
And you also got to be very, I'd say, very clear on what you want for your business and yourself. For us, it's high performance because that's us. That's how we work. But maybe you want to take a different approach. That's fine too. But that's where actually personality testing comes in as well. So before we're just hiring like anyone that, you know, kind of had like maybe the skills, but we didn't really look at their personality types. And that's something that anyone should be looking into. For example, the DISC test, the Myers-Briggs 16 personality test. That's something every big company is doing, and for a reason. Maybe you want to explain why?
Yeah, actually, the first time I read about this was in the book Principles by Ray Dalio. So where he's talking about how he built his company. Ray Dalio, obviously one of the most famous investors in the world, owner of Bridgewater. And what he does is very interesting. And back when I think when I first listened to the book, I didn't really implement it right away. Now we do it. Yeah. But basically the idea is like you run personality tests on people. Like for example, with the DISC profile, you have different types of personality traits. So you have like dominance, influence, steadiness, and then like consistency or whatever. And like for us, like we're hiring a lot of sales. We want people who are very dominant and very influential. Yeah, right? High D, high I, right? So we hire people based off of like personality. Then the second thing is, it's just more like information for you to make sure you're making the right decision. Yeah. So we do interviewing, we run the personality assessment, we say, okay, like if we're hiring this person, is this like, you know, necessarily the best role for them to succeed in based off of like the type of personality types that they have and the skills that they have. So there's that part of it. And I think all of it is like this is part of the hiring process that you learn about when you're reading these technical books on how to build out a solid hiring and recruiting system that you don't necessarily learn about when you're just reading like the classic like business 101 books, you know?
Yeah. And that's like actually that was a huge problem for us. We didn't really know it was a problem until we were like, damn, like people are not performing at the highest level they could be performing. And that's where you really want to take the time, and it's boring sometimes, to really master, you know, what you actually want, recruiting, and especially just like how to funnel people into a pipeline, kind of building a hiring pool of talent that you can just like go into and just pick the best performers out, so you don't have the feeling of like scarcity in your business, right? That's
something that we're kind of building out now. Again, this is like hiring. This is, I think even Hormozi said this, right? Like from your first 0 to 1 million, it's about rushing, right? From your first 1 million to 10 million, it's about building, you know, the product. And then from your 10 million to 100 million, it's all about people, right? And right now, like I'm obviously experiencing we've invested a lot of the time in the product. We're rushing to kind of like get things together, and hiring is the number one problem that like will never go away. And you hear about it in every business book. They say, oh, all you need is good people. It's kind of condescending. You know, it's kind of a joke because like, you know, when you're reading these books, you don't necessarily realize like how important it actually is, because I read it 100 times in all these business books. Oh yeah, all you need to do is hire good people.
It sounds so easy.
Yeah, it's like, all I need to do is hire good people. But in reality, finding really good people to be on your team is probably going to be one of the most difficult tasks that you're never going to have to stop doing as a CEO. This is something that I think like, you will continue to do for the whole lifespan of the business, right? I mean, you might have headhunters and recruiters going out and finding people, but like really making sure you have the right key people, like taking care of every single role and like just looking at everything from a 10,000 foot view to make sure like, you know, everyone is taking care of their roles the way that they should be strategically. Like you're still kind of like coordinating everything kind of like a conductor. That's going to never end, you know, and that's basically going to be your job as a business owner. For today, you have that problem, and you're going to have to basically continue to figure out how to do that for the next 10 years if you run this business. Is, you know, hiring. So this is basically a problem that's never going to go away, right? But you can get better at it, and you can get more effective at it.
Exactly. And that's actually funny because I got a similar question asking me, how do I hire my first employee and when?